Alright, so today we're taking a look at the Keychron Q1 Pro keyboard, and Keychron started out with their Q series lineups as part of their Pro series keyboards. They were going to have that full CNC aluminum build, QMK VIA compatibility, and that was something that's going to be a huge upgrade compared to something like their K series lineup that was made more of plastic parts, more entry-level keyboards. So their Q series had already taken it a step above, and those are really great keyboards, but Keychron added something to their Q series keyboards, which was Bluetooth functionality, and that's where this Q Pro series keyboards come in, where the Pro really just stands for Bluetooth functionality on a normal Q series keyboard. But just like with the regular Q series keyboards, the Q Pro series is going to still have that CNC aluminum build. It's going to have that QMK and VIA compatibility, but for the VIA to work, you will need to use it wired. Luckily, after you set it up the way you want it, when you go to the Bluetooth mode, it's going to transfer the same presets and it'll work just the same. And as far as cost goes, the Q Pro series lineup does start at $200 if you buy it straight through Keychron, and that will be fully built. It'll come with switches, keycaps, it'll come with the whole thing ready to use, or you can go with their bare bones, which saves off $20, but then again, you don't get switches, you don't get keycaps, and honestly, it is very difficult to find switches and keycaps for $20. So the bare bones is always the one I recommend to someone that already has switches and keycaps, or is going to switch them anyway, and you have completely no use for the ones that the keyboard comes with. And I will mention that if you decide to go with this keyboard, if you get it through Amazon, it is going to be $20 more, but at the same time, you don't have to pay for shipping through Amazon, whereas through Keychron, you will have to pay for shipping if you are in the US. And the Q1 Pro keyboard, compared to the regular Q1 series keyboard, does come with a couple more color options, including a shell white that's going to be a white with the light orange or red accent keys, and then you also get some special edition keyboards that are going to be completely white, completely minimal, or a completely kind of dark side, all black keycaps, everything, no accent keys or anything else. So there is those two extra special edition keyboards that you can choose for or from with the Q1 Pro. And the Q1 series keyboard also has some special edition. So if you are looking for a different color keyboard or something more customized, I recommend that you go with the regular Q series keyboard because they do have a lot more options. I will mention that some of those options are not in stock, but you can click to get notified whenever it comes back in stock, so you can get a very specific color option. And you guys know me, for my aesthetic, I like a white keyboard, so I went with the Q1 Pro, and I went with the fully built out with the orange accents because orange is one of my favorite colors. So this light orange reddish color I really did like, and I like how it looks on the keyboard. I like the light gray as well, and it keeps this keyboard kind of with that white color theme, which I have on my desk setup. And I will mention that the Q1 Pro keyboard does not come in a knobless option. Every single one of the Q1 Pros does include a knob, so if you don't want the knob, go with the regular Q series keyboard. But if you can get use out of the knob, I do recommend going with the Q1 Pro, again because of the added Bluetooth functionality. So that's a great option, and the knob comes as the volume rocker stock, which is kind of weird, or it was weird to me because on the website you'll see them using it as a zoom function, but I can guess that Keychron saw that not everyone is really going to be using it as a zoom, so it does come as volume. But again, you can always change it. Just plug it in straight to the computer, go to the VIA website, and you can change it to whatever you want. And in fact, if you are planning on using this as your editing keyboard, I'm gonna give you a quick little hack on how you can make this keyboard be a regular keyboard and an editing keyboard without having all of your macros set on the keyboard on just one layer. And the way to do that is that if you've ever bought a Keychron keyboard before, you will know that it comes with Mac and Windows compatibility, and it has a switch in the back that you can kind of toggle on and off on whichever OS you're using. And the thing about this switch is that all it does is it changes between different layers on the keyboard. So if you're someone that's wanting to use it as a regular keyboard, as an editing keyboard, you can always use the Mac functionality as your full-time laptop use. And then whenever you switch it over to the Windows functionality, you can set up that other layer in the VIA website as your editing layout. So that way, whenever you switch over to the Windows side, you have all of your macros saved. The volume rocker maybe turns into a zoom, or it turns into a horizontal scroll, or whatever you want to use it as. You can kind of set that second layer to be your editing keyboard. And just like that, you have two different layouts on the one single keyboard. But if you don't edit anything and you just want to use this as your regular keyboard, or maybe you have multiple devices, the good news is that the Keychron Q1 Pro does have up to 4 different devices. You can use one wired, and then you have 3 different Bluetooth options that you can connect. So that allows you 4 different devices, which could allow you to connect it to your personal laptop, your tablet, your phone, and then also your work laptop. So that's a great option there as well if you decide to go that route instead, where you have that kind of functionality. And even similar there, if you have maybe a Mac personal computer, but your work provided you with the Windows, you still have the option to toggle the switch back and forth and still get the 2 layouts, one for your Mac personal laptop and then one for your Windows work one. I fortunately have a Mac for my personal and a Mac for work. So whenever I'm going to be using it as my normal keyboard, I do have it on the Mac on the switch. And then I do have a second layer set up for all of my editing workflow. So with the click of a switch, I can get all my macros on my keyboard and still use this to edit all of my videos, and at the same time as my normal daytime keyboard. And I did test the Bluetooth functionality on this keyboard, and honestly, it's really great. The functionality is great. It goes ahead and connects without any problems, and I see almost 0 latency whenever I'm typing. Whatever I'm typing on the keyboard, I see it pop up on the screen. So I have had 0 issues with the Bluetooth, and I have been using it for roughly maybe 10 to 15 hours a week. And that's 10 to 15 hours kind of typing here and there. I use it in the afternoons, I use it on the weekends, and I'm not typing 15 hours consistently. So if you're someone that's going to be using it for your full-time job, maybe you work from home, so you have this in your home office setup, it could be a lot less. I got maybe 4 weeks out of it, 4 to 5 weeks roughly, at 10 to 15 hours. So your time could definitely come down to 2 weeks if you're using it all the time. And just like anything else with the battery, over time it will degrade. So if 2 to 3 weeks isn't enough for you now, I definitely don't recommend that you go for this keyboard if you're looking for a Bluetooth keyboard, because later on down the line, that 2 to 3 weeks is going to go down to more like 1 to 2 weeks. It could take a year, it could take 8 months. It really doesn't matter. If it's not enough now, I don't want you to expect it to last just as long later on down the line. But honestly, if you're into gaming, you can always use this wired. This does still offer that functionality. It's not Bluetooth only like some keyboards, so you still can use it wired and then get no latency at all, which is what I'm doing, because at the same time, even though it does have Bluetooth, it's not really a portable device. This is a very heavy keyboard coming in at roughly 4 pounds, and it's also very bulky and large. So I can't imagine throwing it in my backpack and taking it to the coffee shop and then have to take it out and type. Not only is that going to be bulky for me carrying it around, it's also going to be bulky on the table. And as I've mentioned in other videos before, having a 16-inch MacBook and then having an external keyboard and setting it up and everything, that's going to take up a lot of desk space. So I personally don't use it portably, but that is just something to keep in mind. It's very bulky and it's heavy. So I use it wired at my desk because I already have a wire there, and that's how I have it set up. And with that as well, this is a very tall keyboard, so I recommend that you go with a wrist rest if this is your first keyboard, or if you just don't have large hands. I personally don't like typing on this keyboard without the wrist rest because it is a little bit tall. The typing angle is going to be similar to the Mode Sonnet, but because of the height of the keyboard, it is a little more difficult to type on it. And then in addition to that, the keycaps themselves that come with the keyboard are going to be a little bit taller than something like the Cherry profile. So if you're planning on using this without a wrist rest, you can always give a try to go with Cherry profile keycaps, or go with the XDA profile, which are going to be a little bit less tall, making the keyboard less tall itself. So maybe that'll help, but at the same time, I always recommend going with a wrist rest because over time it can affect your wrists if you don't take care of them from the beginning. And this keyboard does offer per Key Rgb, so if you are going to be changing the keycaps, you can always buy see-through ABS keycaps, and that'll allow you to see all the key legends on the keyboard itself, because stock it does come with double shot PBT keycaps, basically meaning the RGB does not shine through the keycap itself and you can't see the lettering. And as an example here, you will see the MX Keys Mini. Whenever the backlight lights up, you will see all the key legends, all of the lettering on the keycaps themselves. Whereas on the Q1 Pro, whenever the RGB is on, you can't really see the letters. It's a little more difficult because the shine is only coming from around the keycaps. And if you also go with the ISO configuration keyboard of the Q1 Pro, you will get ABS keycaps. I couldn't really find if they're shine through or not. I know they were shine through on the K Pro series keyboards, but these are also going to be ABS. And if you buy one in the US or you go with the ANSI style keyboard, you will get double shot PBT keycaps. And the RGB LED lights on this keyboard are also south facing, meaning they're on the bottom side of the keyboard. So if you are buying keycaps with see-through key legends, that is something to keep in mind, because if the LED light is on the bottom of the switch, it still can make the key legend more dim than something like the MX keys where the LED light is right under the key legend. But the reason the LEDs are south facing is to avoid any compatibility issue with some of the switches, which honestly, I haven't found a switch that's not compatible with north facing LEDs. But if you know what switches are not compatible, leave them down in the comments below so that we can all know which ones aren't compatible. I've heard both mixed that there are still some with compatibility issues and there's some that have an easy fix or that have been fixed already. Let us know down in the comments if there's still compatibility issues with north facing LEDs. But the question is this keyboard worth it? And the quick answer is yes, this is definitely a keyboard that is worth purchasing. It has that Bluetooth functionality. It has that CNC aluminum build. It has that VIA compatibility. And honestly, a lot of the other kind of budget mechanical customizable keyboards are going to be around that same price point, and a lot of them don't offer that Bluetooth functionality. Something like a Bach & Echo comes in around $150 to $180, which is almost the same price as a Keychron keyboard, but it is not Bluetooth compatible. So unless you're going to be joining a group buy for a keyboard that's Bluetooth and that's not going to get to you maybe 6 to 8 months down the line, Keychron is a great purchase because they're always in stock, always available, and you can get it at any time. I will reiterate though that Amazon also has all the Keychron keyboards available, and even though they cost $20 more, you don't have to pay for shipping, and usually you can always return them worry-free if you don't like the keyboard. And if it's something that you already kind of dead set on that you want to purchase and you live in the US, the brand I recommend, or the website I recommend going to, is Divinity. They offer free shipping in the US on any order over $99, which is basically all the keyboards. And then they also offer the fully spec'd out version at the same price that you can get them through Keychron. But what do you think? Are there any reasons that someone should avoid the Q1 Pro? Let us know down in the comments. As always, thank you guys for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one.